I have spent a genuine week of my life undoing her entire head. Which can only mean one thing. We are ready to secure Betsy's wig to her head and give her some accessories like a fun hat. Join me on this very evening to secure these locks and get them all nice and styled, and also maybe cut off a few inches because goodness me. And let's see how we get on. So first things first, couple of things. We have added nostrils back to Betsy's face, so she's got her nostrils ready to go. I made her nose a little bit bigger as well because I actually really like the look of it. And here is the hair. Now what we're going to do first is we're going to secure the wig cap that we made onto her head, and then we're going to cut and style. But first I want to show you this little character that I made. If I pull up the original concept art here, you can see that on Betsy's hat she has a little worm character, and I made this little guy. He's actually really cute and really sweet, and I'm going to show you exactly how I made him. And I was inspired by a character, I believe it's on Sesame Street. There is a worm existing in the Muppets universe, and I kind of ripped off how that would be made typically. So here's how we're going to do that. So the first thing we're going to need for our little worm guy, and what I did here, I made so many last night by the way. I made this one as well, but I think he looks a bit more like a sad caterpillar, so I never actually finished him and I thought it would be longer. So this is the final prototype. All you're going to need is a little bit of foam, a thin piece of wire, and some paints if you have them, and maybe as an added bonus some little black beads or whatever you want to use for their eyes. You can see that I've got this long straight line. I'm just going to cut that really thinly along here, and then the next step would be to go around the edges and curve it out. Now if your fabric scissors are a bit too big, I found this in my cupboard. I'm not quite sure of the official name, but it's like little mini pincers. So I'm going to use my little mini pincers, and I'm just literally going around the edge and just making those sides a bit more rounder all the way around, so that we've got like a spherical shape as opposed to a long rectangle. And once you've curved it round, you're going to have something that looks like this. This is a long curved piece of foam that we've got, and then it's a little bit fiddly and it took me a fair minute, but I've got this thin wire here that's really nice and malleable, and I cut a little piece just like this with my wire cutters. It should be weak enough that you can cut it with easy little wire clippers like this. And then I spent what must have been about 20 to 25 minutes feeding it into the foam, and the way I did that was I got a thick needle first of all and I shoved it through, and then afterwards I put the wire through so that the wire had a little bit of a tunnel already made for it. And you can see that we've still got a little bit of an end here, and then the wire kind of stops. You can see where it can bend because that wire's ended here, but that's okay because we need a little bit of room for the head. I'm just going to cut the mouth into our little worm shape just like that, and already you can see him start to come to life and take shape like that. And then here at the end I'm just going to pull back that backing and cut that wire off so that we haven't got any more excess. With those bits that are left, I'm just going to make that tail more rounded and secure. So we've got something like this. We've got something that can be posed, that's malleable, and at the end we've got the little flap that we opened that will be its mouth. So the next step, you want to get some paints. Now I've got these paints here. It can be watercolor, it can be acrylic. I'm actually going to use a mixture because I don't have all the right colors of everything. I've got this acrylic paint color here, and it says it's beige, but I think it's more like a peachy skin color. I'm going to just plop loads in. You might need a fair amount, just like that. And then I've got a paintbrush here all ready to go, and it's a bit of a mess. I don't take care of this at all. I'm just going to get the tiniest bit of red here, and I'm going to mix that in with my peach. So now I've got this pinky thing here. I'm going to start by literally coating the entire piece of foam in that color. And the reason, by the way, I'm doing it in foam and I'm not doing it in fabric is because with these curvatures here that we get around the edge of the shape that is very worm-like, I kind of would struggle to make a pattern like that and sew it in a way where you would get those curvatures and not any ends or jaggedy bits of the pattern, if that makes any sense. Because I could make a cylinder really easily, but it's about how you make that little curve bit at the end. So I think foam's better, and also it does give it a lovely texture. When it's all painted and looking really good, I think the foamy little bobbliness looks like fabric. It looks really sweet. So that's why I've chosen to do that. But you could do fabric if you're clever enough to figure out how to make something like this, but I am not. And then the next part is kind of up to your artistic interpretations. Basically, when I think of a worm, like a cartoony worm. It's just like a pink long thing with loads of darker pink stripes. So that's kind of what I'm going to emulate today. I'm going to get that darker colour, and the first thing that I'm going to do, and this is again a style preference, I'm just going to give it little rosy cheeks just for fun. And once I've done my rosy cheeks, all I'm doing is I'm just adding a line that goes all the way around the shape. So I'm just bringing that line all the way around, and you can see that it's like a nice sort of darker line here, and I'm going to rinse and repeat that all the way down, and then we should have something like this here. I'm just going to open up his little jaw, and I'm going to add the tiniest dollop of that darker red colour so that we get a sort of emulation of a tongue. I'm just adding a little dollop, so you've got a little tongue in there. He is ready to go, but he does need some eyes. So the last thing I would do, really easy, some black beads on it, and those are the things that I use for the eyes. You could use sequins, you could use whatever you want, but I thought just some little beady eyes were actually quite comedic. So all you have to do is either glue or sew those on, and once you've done that, I mean, it's already posable inside the shape here, as you can see. So all you have to do is add the eyes, and then you'll have the finished product, and that's how I made my worm. If you're interested in worming, if you're interested in making worms, I should say, that is how you make a worm. So I'm going to put that little guy up there because he will be needed, but not quite yet. And I do need my hands to dry, otherwise I will ruin everything I'm about to do. The other thing I've made in advance is a hat. Now, I have been a busy bee. As I said, I unraveled all of her hair. We originally installed a more locky texture, but I really like this wavy texture with the occasional plait. I just love the thickness and the different shapes and all that going on. But I also made a hat, and the way I made a hat was because she has the head of a small child. Apparently, again, they just don't make hats for infants quite like I need them to. So all I've done is, and I'm going to try and not get any paint on it, I cut the head part of the hat off, and I also cut about 2 rows of this straw hat off here, and I've re-sewn it together so that the base of the hat is smaller and then the rim of the hat is smaller, so it all fits together really nicely. And unless you looked at the back here, you couldn't tell that I've done that. So it kind of just looks like an ordinary hat that's very quite small. I do have an unnaturally large head, actually. I've been complimented on it throughout my entire childhood. Once that's flipped up like so, that's just going to fit her a ton better, and it is much more like the concept art. So that's what I did for the hat here, and then we're going to add a little worm on the top when all is said and done. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because the biggest thing to tackle today is this poxy hair that's literally taken weeks off my life. I think it took me about a week in real time to undo it. I've genuinely spent every night on the sofa undoing it meticulously, piece by piece. I really love this texture. The idea that I had is I'm going to do like a couple of little fringy moments, and then I've kind of done half of it really long and half of it half as long because I thought she could have sort of like a half up, half down do. I'm not a hairdresser by any stretch of the imagination. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing when it comes to cutting hair, and I never have. And I'm going to begin by making all of this long part sort of the same-ish length. So I'm just going to get some scissors here. If you've made a wig with me last time and you're looking to style your wig, just take your time. It's a lot of eyeballing, but I just want to get those dead ends off, and I want to make sure that the hair that we're using is sort of at a level playing field. And I've also got to factor in how long her hair will be in relation to the stand that she's on, because she is tall already. And when I get to the stand, I'm kind of just going to snip it off just so that I know that it doesn't go below the stand length. I see my hairdresser do this. She brings the hair through her fingers, and any of the long bit she snips it off, and that looked pretty official actually. So I'm just going to do that all the way around until I've got sort of a consistent length that I'm happy with and that doesn't infiltrate the stand in any way, basically. So I have done my best to cut it in a straight line. I'm not very good with straight lines. I'm naturally quite wonky. This is the best that I could do. So just to refine it a little bit more, I'm going to again do what my hairdresser does. And I'm going to build it up in layers. So I'm going to start by stripping loads of it back and lifting it over her head and just making sure that each section is kind of the same height. So I'm not going to cut it all at once anymore. I'm just going to, as I go, cut it like this so that we can really make sure that each layer has had a bit more attention. Okay, so I've got that about as even as I could have. And now I'm kind of going to attack those lesser long layers that I've put at the top and how much I want to keep at the front of the face as well, because we've got to separate some of it at the top, which will eventually become the fringe. It will be different with every single puppet, so you've just got to work out where you want the hair to separate, how much hair you want in the front, how much hair you want in the back, sort of things like that, where you want the natural parting to be. So I'm just going to get a locky piece of wool here, and I'm just going to tie that up and section it off. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to secure the wig cap onto the head, because once we've secured the wig cap onto the head, we can really pull it and yank it and play around with where we want her fringe to be. I'm pretty sure that you could glue it on absolutely fine. The problem is I've given Betsy so much hair and it's so heavy, I would really rather that her hair stay as secure as possible. So I'm going to start by sewing all around the edges here, and to do that I'm just going to remove her head from the stand. I'm going to get a thread that best matches the colour of her wig cap. You can see the seam line on Betsy's head here. That is the line that I'm going to follow, and that is the line that I'm going to stick my wig cap to. And as we get to things like around the ear, I'm just going to try and get it as close to the ear as possible so that that wig cap is really nicely stretched out and all the hair covers all the back of it instead of it having it a little bit scrunched up at the back. I'm just going to begin by sewing around the wig cap into that seam line and back through the sock. Go in and out, trying as I might, it might be tricky at some points, not to catch any hair as I go in so that we don't lock hair into what we're sewing. All I'm going to do is rinse and repeat that sewing action in and out all the way around the head. So I shall do that. It will take me a fair minute, and it might take you a fair minute as well, but I shall do that and rejoin you. I think I just spent about half an hour doing that, which isn't too bad, and you can see here along the line, and that's literally all it takes. I've just gone up and down, in and out her head with a stitch, and I've mimicked that all the way around the cap. So I've got this half up, half down situation, and then I've got all this bit at the front here, and all I need to do now is kind of style her fringe. We're going to get her hat, because I kind of don't know how I want her fringe to look until the hat is on, because when the hat's on you're not going to see loads of this work that we've done. This is a point where I'm going to admit something to you. I have had for a long time a phobia. I'm totally fine with needles, the dark, heights, whatever you want to throw at me, but there is a certain thing that I just can't deal with. And that is statues and mannequins, specifically full height or bigger than life statues and mannequins of people. I can't stand it. I won't touch them. I won't go near them. When I'm in a museum, I have to send people in the exhibit rooms before me so they can check if there's any wax figures. Madame Tussauds is the death of me. I would actually spontaneously combust. There is not a thing you could do worse to me. For some ungodly known reason, puppets are and have always been okay. I think it's because they're smaller. I have to be honest, now Dr. Cecil's got feet, he's absolutely terrifying in the dark, but I try and push past it for the love of the craft and the love of the art. But this is sending me slightly. Originally, with my life, I wanted to be an animatronics maker, but I have a phobia of them, and it's not like I could be left in a room alone with them or turn the lights off in the warehouse after a shift, so I let that dream go. There's something really unnerving about that. So I'm just going to get the hat so we can get a real sense for what we're actually going to see here. And you can see immediately all that front bit's gone and we're only left with some side elements. I'm not going to attach her hat just yet, but what I am going to do is put the worm on, and so that I can move it later, here's something I do to keep my sleeves rolled up during the day. I just put a safety pin in my arm, but I'm going to nab this safety pin. I've got my safety pin here, and this is basically kind of like the birds that we made for Dr. Cecil. If we want to move them at any time, I'd much rather that they were safety pinned on instead of sewn on, so that we can change that at will. If we're sewing it on, we're kind of limiting it and locking it to that one place. So I have safety pinned the worm on the head for now. I might move it later, see how I feel. But the beauty is, because it is safety pinned, we can make that decision. We've got this great volume that we've now created in the back of Betsy's head, and I'm just going to give her fringe a little trim, and then I think we'll be good to go. And I don't know how to do a cascadey fringe, but I'm just gonna give it a little curvature. Okay, and there we have it. We've got a lovely little worm in the back. We've got some great volume in the sides here, and in the front I think she looks really sweet and swell. We've got some lovely bits of fringe, and we've got cascading, we've got different textures, we've got the occasional little lovely plait that she's got. I mean, I genuinely spent days undoing her head, and I really like how it looks. It was unfortunate that I preferred it that way due to time-consuming reasons, but she's she's definitely going to need some arms next, and that's what we're going to do with her next. I hope you enjoyed today, and I hope if you are making a wig of your own that it's not too laborious or time consuming and you're hanging in there. If you did enjoy today in any way and you found it relaxing, please subscribe and ring that bell so that you can be told when we make another episode. Thank you so much again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.